so I was quite happy about it.
It's funny, because my boys were in your team, it's the first thing they've won all year as well, so they're well happy.
Yeah, we were well happy, we had a good day yesterday, spot on.
Like you said up there, you're lacking a few trophies, so it's nice to get off to a good start.
I was worried I didn't even get one, it upset me to be honest.
But seriously, in Moto2, there's been so many riders come into Moto2. It's a tough class, I guess, from Supersport. Yourself and Gino have come in there. A high-profile guy that came in was Softoglu, and it didn't quite happen for him. And as a world champion coming in there, you've come in, and appears like you're the real deal. It's from straight away. You've had new circuits to learn. You've sort of got your head around that, and looks like you're sort of knocking on the door.
Yeah, you know, we've not had the pace has been quite good all year. The results haven't been not been mega, but the second half of the year I know a lot more of the tracks, and Brno was a bit of a disaster really, crashing out of third place, and you know, this weekend I need to make it happen. I need to get on the podium, and you know, it's great to come to a track that I love in front of my home fans, and yeah, today went quite well. The pace isn't too bad, so hopefully we can improve a little bit tomorrow.
I speak to you every now and again, and never ever once do you say anything negative about the bike, because you're there most of the time. But I speak to lots of people in the paddock, and other people in the paddock might say that the bike's not as consistent as maybe the Suiters and the Galaxies. And then there's some weekends you're obviously struggling to be on the pace. Can you tell us in here if the bike's not quite what it should be some weekends?
Yeah, for me it's quite a difficult question because I've never rode the Galax or the Suter or to compare, but the problem for me, it seems really hard to find the best setup with the bike. So some weekends we can get quite close and I can ride the bike good, and other weekends it'd be a total disaster and I'm struggling. But yeah, in Moto2, it's not just the chassis, it's such a tight class that if you're half a second off, you're nowhere. So I think that the bike's quite good. I think that we could, as a team, we could get more out of it, what we've got. So before I can start moaning and saying the bike's not good enough, you know, we need to get 100% out of the bike and out of myself, and you know, we've not done that this year so far. So you know, I can't sit here and say that it's the best bike because I don't know. But for me, it's definitely been. We could have done more of what we've got, so I'm not going to start using it.
I guess the rider, you've got to, if you're in a team, you're there for the year, you've got to believe in it. It's not an option to think that it might not be.
No, I think it's named Speed Up because we have to speed up a little bit. So.
And any little insights, any nibbles you can give us for next year? Same team, maybe some options?
Yeah, to be fair, I've been really lucky to come into this paddock, and I didn't know anyone really before coming in, and it's really hard to come from the superbike paddock into this paddock because people have tried it before and not done as good, so you don't get the recognition that you maybe deserve or not. And for next year, I've been lucky to have quite a lot of options, but at the minute I'm still contracted to Speed Up, so I'm not too sure, but whatever happens the second year will be a lot better for me, knowing more of the circuits and just understanding the bike a little bit more. Because today I went out in FP1, having rode a Supersport bike here last year, and I thought, oh my god, how am I going to do this? Because it's quite a lot different, but in the end it was not too bad.
Tell us, this is the circuit you have been to, tell us the differences on the Moto2 chassis setup.
Well, the Supersport bike, it's like riding that nice comfy sofa around the track, and the Moto2 bike, it's like riding this around the track, to be honest. But, it's just very, very different how to ride the bikes, because you've got to, with the tyres and electronics in Supersport, the tyres are a lot more flexible, a lot more soft, so you can attack the corner a little bit more, stop the bike and sort of come out, whereas in Moto2, with the Dunlop tyres and the stiffer chassis, the benefits of they've got to carry the corner speed. So I've been in sort of all year trying to change my style, and yeah, we're slowly getting there.
Does anyone cheat in Moto2? Because I sometimes watch trackside and I hear bikes misfiring, like they've got some traction control over it.
I don't think so. For me, I'm pleasantly surprised how close all the bikes are, and yeah, I think it's quite a fair class, and yeah, I don't think they cheat. Well, anyone that beats me probably is, but.
Cheers, Sam. I think it's been really nice that you've come from Supersport as world champion and become at the front straight away. So I think it's good for the Supersport lads that proves that you guys are on the pace and up for it. So
yeah, it's just very different. I think the level in Supersport is a little bit less, but if the guys at the front are, they're really, really fast. It's just that the depth of field is not quite as much. Given the bikes are a lot closer in Moto2, so that's one reason why the times are close. But also, they've got a lot of experienced guys, and yeah, that's the difference.
Good.
Thank you.
Cheers, Sam. You know, you just talked about John McPhee never giving up, and you've got to come under that banner as well, a man that's never given up. You've never been given the best team or the best bike in the paddock. You're a front runner in World Supersport, like Sam is, and took all the rough and tumble through there. Got into Moto2, things didn't quite work out there, but come back last year and I saw it, van in a tent pretty much, and just made it happen for a few races. The dream was coming back this year for a full season, and you made that happen as well. You've been back for a full season, and you keep coming back. You're the only guy out there on the FTR and giving your all out trackside quite a lot watching. And I know, like Sam says, how you can look like you're a long way off, but time-wise you're never that far off. But looks like you're going out there, giving it your all every weekend, and trying to make it happen.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going out and giving it my all, just like everyone else is, and that's one of the frustrating things in Moto2. Like Sam said, you can be giving it everything you've got and pushing to the limit and still be a second and a half off, and then you're back in 25th. Like you mentioned, last year we done it out of the back of a van with the FTR, and this year just hasn't really gone to plan. Within the team, we changed crew chief after kind of 3 or 4 races, so we've been kind of settling in with a new guy there and both learning each other and learning the bike. And yeah, it's been really difficult. It's definitely not what we expected because, you mentioned there, we're on the FTR, we're actually on the Suter this year. And I went faster last year on the FTR at the back of the van. So yeah, we've definitely been struggling this year. The Suter is just a really difficult bike to get right, and it's such a small window of where it works. And I haven't been general with it all year, to be honest. We've just had an update on the chassis for this race. We've been a bit behind on the updates with Suter because it's basically if you've got the money you can upgrade it straight as soon as they bring out the update. So we've got it for this race, and then I went and chucked it down the road on my 3rd lap in the morning, so that didn't help.
And is there one area in particular where you struggle or you're losing time?
Well, for example, today it was actually really strong on the front end of the bike, the braking and the entrance, but on the exit and the rear grip I was really struggling, and a lot of movement around here, but it hasn't been the same all year. It's been different problems really, but we haven't really found a good base setting that we can take from track to track and just fine tune. So we're on the back foot a little bit, but we'll keep working hard and hopefully we can close up the gap.
And how does that work when you ride like Suter? Is there not pooled information that comes from the other teams, or you got access to stuff like that you can work with?
Depends how well you do it, really. We had 2 sessions this year where we're in front of the other Suters and they're straight round to your garage to see what you're doing and what's working. And there's such a big range of settings and different riders on a Suter bike that you can't just bolt on someone else's setting and expect it to work, because you take the Asphalt team, you've got Nico Terol and Jordi Torres, and their setups couldn't be far enough apart. So you can't just take Nico's setup and then go with that. So they've been helping, but we've just been struggling as a team really.
Yeah. I never label riders as wet weather riders, because that's the worst thing. They don't want to know if they're fast in the wet. But you have been incredibly successful in the wet. When the rain comes, do you think, okay, it's Gino time, watch out, I'm coming through?
You can't help but think that, to be honest. Obviously I've had good results in the rain in Moto2, but it's frustrating as well. Like you said, you don't want to be labelled the wet weather rider.
Well, everyone, it's not. You've ridden fast in the dry, so
yeah, exactly. So you want to prove yourself in the dry, really. But as Sam was saying, in Moto2, it's so close. Everything's got to be just right to be at the front. So I do feel that a little bit when the rain comes. But we've only had one wet race this year at Assen, and qualified 33rd on the grid, and I got up to the top 10, but even then I was really struggling and having moments everywhere, and eventually I did have a really big moment and I was on the tank with my legs in the air and stuff, so I settled with a top 10 from there. So it was good to get points though, but even then we should have been on the podium, to be honest.
Well, Friday I always think if you get the shit luck out of the way on a Friday, then it gets better for them, so let's hope things pick up from there.
Yeah, hopefully, we'll see.
Cheers, Gino.
Thank you.
flip side of the coin, Scott, you've had a good Friday. I watched every lap, pretty much of every practice today, and it looked like it was getting stronger and stronger, so looking good at Silverstone.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, the first practice out, it really didn't feel good, you know. It was a lot faster, the bike felt a lot stiffer, and I didn't really feel comfortable. And then we changed a lot on the bike and sort of sorted my head out a bit and come back in the afternoon with a fresh mind. And I went out with the harder tyre in the rear, not the soft one. And I was on the back of a Spagro and I learned quite a lot because I could kind of stay with him and he was using the soft tyre. So built my confidence up a lot, and also I helped myself in the braking areas on sliding and stuff like that. So when we put the soft tyre in, we could improve the lap time quite a lot.
And the open bikes or the production Hondas, everyone always assumes that they're down on power. So somewhere like Silverstone, it's really fast. There's 4 really long straights, and so everyone thinks that's somewhere where you're going to have a big disadvantage. But top 10 all this afternoon and looking good, so no huge disadvantage.
Yeah, that's what I just don't understand, you know. It's like one of them things I said to the guys, nah, there's no chance to go to Q2 this week, and then I go and finish 6th in FP2 and they're looking at me like, what do you mean? It's a bit strange because it is a power circuit, and I think if the temperature comes up, then we're going to be back to where we were. I think with the cold condition, we get a little bit more with the soft tyre. Of course we get an advantage of that, but with the long power straights I thought I would lose a lot more, and actually I do, but then in the technical areas I'm kind of gaining a lot more back, which I was surprised how much we would be able to get back, you know. So I'm quite happy with today, and I'm sure, you know, when the temperature's coming up, them guys are going to get more feeling with their harder tyre and be able to go faster.
And you say that this afternoon, Danny Pedrosa quite often in FP1 is not strong, but FP2 he starts to get going. But watching him this afternoon, he was pushing hard and missing apexes and running off on his own, so no mean feat to be in front of the likes of Danny Pedrosa.
Yeah, I mean, here was quite windy today, and towards the end of the session was more and more windy. Like one lap is okay, you think, oh, I brake later, so you brake a little bit later, then you're like 5 metres off the line, you're like, what's happened? So, you know, I'm quite a big, strong rider, so I can sometimes fight it back, but there's only so much you can do, you know, and that's the biggest thing today for me. Like having this more speed, it's the first time I've had a lot of wind at a circuit, so when you're exiting the corner and it starts to wheelie, you're like, okay, come down, and the wind's under it, and you're just fighting to always keep the front wheel on the floor.
I also think, I've followed your career, I also think you're strong every weekend, but there are circuits that you're super strong. Indianapolis, you always go really well. Silverstone, you always go really well, so I guess anything can be possible this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, Indy's good, and also Silverstone's really good for me. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the English-speaking language or something that's changing something somewhere. But places like Brno, I struggle because on the MotoGP bike, for me, I have to use a lot of rear brake entry into the corner, and on the right side, I can't do it because my feet are almost too big. It just picks the bike up and runs me wide. So, you know, I tried to get a thumb brake for there from Nissan, but it didn't arrive. So somewhere like Silverstone with the longer corners, I can work better with that, and then I feel more comfortable as a rider, and I can focus more on in the other areas.
And next year, are you leaving that to other people to sort that out? Everyone wants to see you on a factory bike. How possible will that be, do you think?
I think there's a high possibility. It's just a matter of money at the moment, you know. It's one of them situations where like it comes better, then it's like, oh, we have this problem, and then maybe something with the team. I mean, my priority is to stay with Gresini. They've done a good job this year, and they have experience with the factory bike, so it would be nice to stay here. And I mean, we have to wait in the next 2 or 3 races to see what Honda are doing. You know, I had a meeting with them today, and they said, we want to keep you on the Honda family. So to hear that from the top guys there is obviously a good thing to put in the pocket.
That was, next thing I was going to say is when you get someone like Nakamoto saying that and I've read stuff that he's been quoted saying he doesn't say anything unless he wants to say it, and he said that he wants to see you on a factory bike, so that can only be good, and hopefully it's just and that there are teams that want to see you on there, so let's say fingers crossed for next year.
That's how it goes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Scott. Okay. It's the main man. In many years gone past, you've been sitting there as a Grand Prix rider, and successful Grand Prix rider, and no one could ever say that you didn't give 100. I always say you can't give anyone 100%, but probably you've given more than 100% over all your years in GPs. Moto3 or Moto2 ride wasn't available this year, so you weren't going to lie down and you took a little different career path. And up into the Ulster, it looked like it was certainly enjoyable for lots of reasons. I watched it at TT, I went there for 3 days and it looked like you were having a great time. So, just going back to TT, was that the right decision? Was it a good experience? Was it everything you expected it to be?
It was everything and more, you know. It was unreal, and yeah, I would have loved to have stayed in GP, but nothing was available for me, and you know, money wise, it was too much to stay, and political things come into it, and this and that. But I won't get into that. But you know, I got to the beginning of the year, there was nothing there, and I've always wanted to do the TT. I've always loved it, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. So I made a few phone calls, and it wasn't really real at the beginning. And then someone, then Ryan Fycroft offered me the lightweight bike, and then the organiser said, well, why don't you ride a 1000 as well? And I was like, no, I've had no experience on one, and they went, yeah, but it's quite easy around here on one, you know, you can get away with a lot of things, you don't have to go. So I was kind of like, well, I said I'll have a think about it, and I had a couple of tests on a superstock bike, and things were going really well, you know, and we had a stupid little slip off at Alton Park, and literally I ran off track and I was doing 10 mile an hour and slipped off on a wet piece of grass and smashed my shoulder into 4 pieces. So I was out of action then for a while, and I was like, this year ain't going well, you know. So anyway, I was over in the Isle of Man for a long time and doing many laps around the track, and I think I'd done about 90 laps in the hire car, you know. I'd done all my homework, and the time come for the TT, and we'd been riding a superstock bike for a while, and I was gelling with it quite well, but obviously it was with another team what I was doing the TT with, so we went up to Derby the day before, and I had a Ghana Super Twin bike and a Ghana Stocker, and yeah, it felt good, and you can't prepare yourself for it. So got to the Saturday and it was absolutely pissing hard, and I was like, we ain't going to go off on this, are we? And I was like, no, so, but I was going to go off on a Super Twin bike, because it was the newcomers, then the lightweight, so I thought, oh, perfect, you know, little bike, it's more my style, and they cancelled that, and on Monday the only choice I had was to go on the big bike, and I was like, I was absolutely shitting myself. So we headed down Braille on our Marshall lap and done that, and then we'd done the lap alone, and it was fine, you know, we took it step by step and went faster and faster throughout the week, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really want to go back there, but of course I want to be back in Grand Prix, and that's the best place to be.
Yeah, it's been a lot of years since a Grand Prix rider's gone to do the roads, and then talking to you today, it's not out of the question that the Grand Prix dream is still. Obviously, the great thing is you've been Grand Prix for so many years, but you're still a young rider, and you certainly still look quite young anyway. But so still hopeful to join these guys back in the paddock. Is that still a possibility?
Yes, over the last couple of weeks since I've been hurt, actually, it's kind of, we've had a few phone calls and a few chats with some people, and I had a meeting today and it was very positive, so we'll just see what happens in the future, you know. It's looking good, so there's a few things to sort out, but hopefully we'll be back in the paddock, and yeah, back in the Moto3 paddock.
Good, but certainly still well respected in the paddock, and everyone knows what you're capable of. These guys gone flat now. These guys, their time's precious, and a lot of them haven't eaten, so if we don't feed them soon, they'll probably try and eat each other. You just never know. So we would like to, I think, put some questions out to the audience, but maybe if we can limit it to one question to each rider, otherwise we will be here a long time. Is that alright, Gordon? One question for each rider, and then let them eat. So, firstly, a question for Bradley Ray. Stick your hand up. What do you want to know about Bradley Ray?
Or in fact, any question at all for anybody, just get at them. Okay, right, we're gonna shout it out.
Scott, regularly you're giving Bautista a pasting. And when you get back to the paddock and he looks at your bike and he thinks he's nicked my bike, and he realises you're doing it on the factory bike, how pissed is he?
Quite. You know, like, always the main rule for me is to beat your teammate, and I know I'm underpowered, but I can't change my mentality from that, you know. So when I come close to him and sometimes beat him, I feel really good about myself. I feel like I've achieved something. And in the beginning of the season, he was not bad, you know. Okay, he was Spanish. I go into the office and he had 80% of the office, and I was like, okay, move all this shit out of the way, put my stuff there, you know, like just to already start on a good level. And he was quite a nice guy. I mean, he's one of the best teammates I had. He's quite quiet, but I just feel like when I'm close to him or I beat him, like there's no eye contact. He never really speaks to me, and you know, I guess that's what it's like. If someone beat me on a slower bike, I'd be really pissed. I wouldn't even want to talk to him. So I guess it's the same either way, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I'm always going to try to beat him, and he knows that I'm on a slow machinery, and he's even asked to see my data to go faster. So, you know, I know in his head that he always thinking about that, and like today, to see that is really hard for him to accept.
Awesome. It's good for us.
Secret.
Question, I'll also remind questioners and riders that we deliberately do not invite any journalists or professionals here. So anything you say in this room stays in this room, apart from Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff. Question?
It's a question for Gino. We went to Sepang a couple of years ago when you were going well in the rain. Did you feel disappointed that nothing came out of that ride? Because although you said you didn't really want to win in the wet all the time, you were absolutely brilliant in that, and I thought that something might have came out of that. Were you disappointed?
I actually still haven't got my trophy, so I'm pretty disappointed with that. Yeah, I crossed the line in first, and then it got red flag, put back 2 laps, and I got they gave me 3rd position, and then Andy West got disqualified for smoking some crap, and then so basically I give my trophy back to the Malaysian guy who got 4th in the race, and I still haven't got my one back because Andy's got it in Australia, so I'm looking forward to getting that back. But in terms of rides, I actually had a ride sorted for 2013. I already signed and done the deal, and it was all going ahead. We actually went and tested with an FTR, and they were meant to bring a new bike, and it basically went over Christmas and over January, and they started to say, oh, you know, the sponsor hasn't come up with they haven't signed the dotted line, basically. They promised a lot, and yeah, I don't think it wasn't the team's fault. I guess they thought the sponsor was going to, you know, come through and come up with the money, and they didn't. And then it got to the end of January, and they were like, we have to pull out. We've got I think it was maybe 3/4 of the budget. They could have started the season and, you know, tried to spread the budget out, but they didn't want to do it half-heartedly. And you know, I don't hold any grudges, because, you know, that's the good way to operate. Being a good team manager, you don't want to start the season and not be able to finish it, especially in this, you know, in this category, in a world championship. You don't want a reputation that you can start a season and not finish it. So yeah, that's what happened basically. I had a ride and they pulled out just before the season, basically a week and a half before the first official test, the pre-season test. So yeah, it went filling its arse from there.
Could I actually just add a postscript to that, being very close to Team Grassini, when you won that sensational podium in Sepang, and of course I was standing in the absolute pouring rain, jumping up and down and screaming my head off. They went off to Indonesia to renew their contract for Moto2, and I promise you that they had Gino Rea on that ticket. But you weren't Indonesian enough.
Enough.
Big
Got
problem.
the skin colour.
Big problem.
Everyone calls me an Indian.
But yeah, so at Gino's foray last year, through wildcards, when they presented that as a plan to me, I thought they were completely bonkers. And the fact that he made so many races and scored points, as Neil said, a 10th in the back of the paddock is a stunning achievement, and hats off to you. Brilliant persistence. Well done, Gino.
Thank you.
Another question. Question. Anyone? Oh, I can't go. Who's going to win the MotoGP? Go ahead. You want to shout it out, Richard?
Right. My profession, I'm a builder. When I want to chill out, I ride my S1000. What do you do when you chill out?
Build.
Awesome.
Addressed to anyone in particular?
Don't ask Danny.
Yeah. Hey John, what do you do when you chill out in Scotland, right? I drink whiskey.
Well, up in Scotland there's not much to do anyway, so 90% of the time you're pretty much chilling out.
Ask Danny.
Alright, Danny.
Can't say, sorry.
There are ladies present.
Well... can't say.
We're not repeating.
I'm Scott, yeah, I'm Scott.
That's Scott.
I think I can be pretty sure that my relaxed time is quite similar to Danny's. But you know, seriously, like getting away from racing for me, when I leave the racetrack, I have one rule, and that's not to talk about racing for at least 3 days. Just to keep my head clear from it and keep me really interested. So, you know, I do that. I go ride motocross, supermoto, and you know, cycling for 2-3 hours just to clear my head and just relax and be free.
Question. We're gonna get the guys moving soon, so. Right, guys, I just gotta say, once again, as I said earlier, but to me it's amazing that you guys are all sitting up and every one of you is podium and world championship material. I'm gonna see Danny win the Isle of Man TT one of these days, I think. And just to come back to you, Danny, I'm gonna ask you a question because it's my privilege as the last one. I've been supporting you. I've been supporting these guys, either some of them actually financially, certainly all of them emotionally. For as long as they've been in the business, or at least since I've gotten to know them. I have to say I've been actually sponsoring Danny since 2005 or something like that, 6, a long time. And when he told me he was going to go ride the Isle of Man TT, of course we were on tours there and I knew a bit about it. And me and pretty much everybody I knew, our major concern was, and certainly what our ambition for Danny, for the Isle of Man TT, was to survive. And he didn't just survive, but he took in all 4 races he took. He got a bronze replica in 3 and a silver in the lightweight, which if you know anything about the Isle of Man TT, means you've done incredibly well. And so, ranking right up there with seeing Gino on the podium, seeing you get that silver was amazing. In fact, it was such an amazing experience. Dad immediately went out and got TT 2014 silver tattooed on his leg. Yeah. Guys, I gotta say, I gotta wish everybody a great amount, fantastic, best of luck. Neil, last words? Where's Neil? He's drinking.
Yeah, I went for it. I put my glass in front of that projector, picked it up again, it was about 100 degrees C, so that's why I rushed off. Thanks for coming, thanks for Gordon for organising this, massive thanks to the riders. British riders dominate World Superbike, we've got that sorted, that's all done and dusted, they were amazing there. We've got some of the best young up-and-coming riders in MotoGP. If anyone watched the BT Sport midweek show the other night, Mark Marquez even named Scott Redding as the future young rider that's next to do the business of MotoGP, which I thought was pretty impressive. All of these guys have got amazing futures ahead of them. They're young, they've got loads of years, and they're in the MotoGP paddock doing the business. And there's over a dozen in there this weekend at the very highest level of racing. So put your hands together for all of these guys and everyone.
And Neil, I can't thank you enough for coming and joining us and sharing of your acerbic wit with these riders. Thank you very much, champion Niall MacKenzie. Guys, we're going to have, you have an opportunity for about 10 minutes, and that's literally to strike these guys. It is a school night, but if you want to come up and have a quick photo or sign something, now's your moment.